Bible naysayers state that the order of creation, as defined in the Bible, proves beyond a doubt that the Bible is false. And they specifically point to days 3 and 4, where the Bible tells us plants were created before the sun. Now they argue science tells us the sun is an essential ingredient to photosynthesis, the process by which plants create the energy and food needed to grow, thrive, and survive. And without the sun, photosynthesis cannot occur and plants can't grow. Therefore, they say, plants cannot have been created before the sun, so the Bible is wrong. So I prayed and prayed and asked the Lord, how do I respond to the naysayer's argument? And he planted a question in my mind. Can plants grow, thrive, and survive without sunlight, but more specifically without light from the sun? Let's see what the Bible has to say. Happy day, Bibliophiles. Open your Bibles to Genesis chapter 1. We're going to read verses 1 through 18, which covers creation days 1 through 4. I am reading from the New American Standard Version. Let's start with verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, one day. So on day 1, God spoke light into existence. We are not told where the light came from, just that God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Let's continue. Verse 6. Then God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." God made the expanse and separated the waters which were below the expanse from the waters, which were above the expanse, and it was so. God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. To paraphrase, on day 2, God separated the sky from the waters, creating the atmosphere. Let's go to verse 9. Then God said, "Let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees on the earth, bearing fruit after their kind with seed in them." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed after their kind, and trees bearing fruit with seed in them after their kind. And God saw that it was good. There was evening, and there was morning, a third day. So on day 3, God gathered the waters to create the seas, and he created dry land. That same day, upon his command, the earth produced vegetation, plants yielding seeds, and fruit-bearing trees. So to review, by the end of day 3, we had light. The Bible does not tell us how this light existed after it was created, but we have light. We also have the atmosphere, water, dry land, and plants. Let's get the day 4, starting with verse 14. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made the 2 great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He made the stars also. God placed them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on earth, and to govern the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. There was evening, and there was morning, a 4th day. So on the 4th day, God created the greater light, the sun, the lesser light, the moon, and the stars. Verse 17 says that God placed them, meaning the sun, moon, and the stars, in the expanse of the heavens to give light on earth. But according to verse 3, we already had light. So what made up light before the sun, moon, and stars? And how did that affect plant growth? Now stay with me because we're going to get a little deep. Not too deep, but enough to make sense of it all. Science tells us there are 7 types of light which make up what's called the electromagnetic spectrum. Visible light and 6 other types of light that are imperceptible to the human eye. Visible light is made up of 7 different colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. All the colors of the rainbow. All light, whether visible or invisible, is made up of electromagnetic waves. The speed and frequency of those waves determines the type of light emitted. For visible light, the speed and frequency of the waves determine the colors that you see. The best wavelengths for plants are red and blue. There is some green in there, but it's primarily red and blue. So keep this in mind for later. Sunlight has 3 major components, one of which is visible light. Now the sun emits all 7 colors of visible light. These electromagnetic waves travel from the sun through space and run into the earth. We rarely see these rays of colors all at once, but just because we don't see them does not mean they aren't there. Think of what happens with a prism. Light goes in, and a rainbow of colors comes out the other end. When the sun's visible light hits the earth, the red and blue waves trigger photosynthesis. Now, as I mentioned earlier, photosynthesis is the process by which plants use energy from the sun. Those red and blue lights or energy waves to make their own food, grow, bloom, and produce seed. Without red and blue lights, plants cannot produce food and they will die. Let's go back to the question posed earlier. Can plants grow, thrive, and survive without sunlight, but more specifically, without light from the sun? The answer is yes. They need the electromagnetic waves, specifically the red and blue frequencies, to trigger photosynthesis. And that light must come from somewhere, but not necessarily the sun. And if you think I'm crazy, we have an example of this today. Have you ever heard of grow lights? Grow lights are special electric lights that mimic sunlight, specifically the colors generated by electromagnetic waves. Grow lights are used for any number of indoor plants, especially plants that need a continuous light source. Therefore, you don't necessarily need the sun itself for plants to grow. You need the visible light created by the red and blue electromagnetic waves. So here's an example of a light that does not come from the sun being used to grow plants. This all leads to a much deeper question. The Bible states that God created light on day 1. Where did the light needed to create plants on day 3 come from? And how did it get here? For the first part of the question, I want us to turn to the book of Job, chapter 38, and we're going to read verse 19. Where is the way to the dwelling of light? And darkness, where is its place? God asked Job, where is the way to the dwelling of light? Even though God is asking a question, he's indirectly telling us that light has a home. The dwelling of light is not a topic we're going to go into in this video, but it is important to know that light has a source. But how did it get here? Let's reread verse 3 of Genesis 1. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. According to the Bible, God spoke and light was created. We shouldn't be surprised by this because we see it today through the use of voice command technology. You speak into a device, and in no time, that command is carried out. Turn on the lamp, and the lamp turns on. You don't see what happens between the time you asked whatever device you're using to turn on the lamp and the lamp turning on. And that lamp will stay on until you turn it off. Voice command technology only became available to us within the last 100 years. But God used his voice millennia ago to not only create light, but an entire universe. Imagine the power behind that voice. The Bible tells us that there is no one greater than God. Only an infinitely powerful God could speak light into existence. And Biblephiles, I want to point out something that has really blown my mind, and I hinted at it earlier in this video. From my reading, the Bible does not tell us that God stopped or replaced the light he created on day one. Rather, God added to the light by creating the sun, moon, and stars. So if the sun, moon, and stars disappeared today, God's light would still shine. And that is something to think about. Okay, Biblephiles, it is your turn. What do you think? Is my explanation a reasonable response to the naysayer's argument? Let me know in the comments below, and share how you would respond to their argument. Now let's end with a blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you and show you his favor. May the Lord lift up his face towards you and give you peace.